Alright guys, we're back. This looks like video number 3. Ron and I were sitting here talking about letter 1. And I feel like there's so much more we can cover in letter 1.
Oh, there is.
So we're going to pick up on where we left off. So if you have not watched video number 2, that's the beginning of letter 1. This video number 3 where we're going to pick up, you may want to go back and watch that first and then come back and jump into this conversation we're about to have about letter 1 part 2.
Mm-hmm.
I hope all that makes sense, guys. But we're back and we're discussing Christ's letters, and we're going to pick up at letter 1. I'm going to let Ron jump in and give us a topic, something that we could share and talk about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and good evening to you, Val, and hello, everybody, again. To pick up exactly where we were last time, I know, Val, you were saying that the theme of consciousness really struck out to you as an important thought, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Not affect permanent change in your lives unless you change your consciousness.
Whoa, that hit home. Say that again.
You cannot affect permanent changes in your life unless you change your consciousness.
Wow. I feel like I need to know now, like, the definition of consciousness.
Understanding of consciousness is it's our thoughts and ideas that we have, and it can vary, but it's basically the part of us that moves to the afterlife and moves from lifetime to lifetime. And I think, as I mentioned in the previous video, when we do incarnate in a new life as a baby, that we are kind of given amnesia for things that have happened in the past, and we're here to either move on to a new lesson or relearn a lesson that you didn't get on the previous lifetime. So, in order to do that while we're here in our bodies with our consciousness, we need to try to move along farther from the things we're taught in this world about interacting with people, which very often are kind of negative things about retribution and payback and me sort of things, and to try to think about other people and work toward our spiritual ascension.
The perception of something by a person.
Okay, sure. And I think for an earthly experience, that's really, really accurate. Mm-hmm. But again, as I alluded to before, our consciousness does survive our bodies in the afterlife and moves from lifetime to lifetime. So there's, I think, a dimension of that that's not addressed there, and that's pretty much the scientific definition that you read there.
I agree. The fact of awareness by the mind of itself.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's heavy.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
And God was talking about this, or Christ was talking about this years ago.
Sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this is what he brought when he came 2,000 years ago, and it's a message that really didn't get picked up on. I don't want to be a spoiler, but that was one of the comments he made in here, was that when he came, he did create a radical shift in people's thinking and the customs of the time. And pretty much, I mean, he talks about, because he was born into the Jewish world, though that's who he dealt with mainly, but it was pretty much everybody in that time. The me, and people were at war, and many of them still are at war today.
Why do you think, though, that any opportunity that we notice that someone is different or shows up different, we're not welcoming to it? Have you noticed that? And it just hit me when you said that, because that's exactly what Christ did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you had kind of mentioned something in the previous video that ties into that about being different and accepting things like that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's in letter 8, actually, that he talks about, the example he gives is there's this, I believe it's a woman, as he puts it in there, and she grew up in a society where everybody was the same, fitting in, as you mentioned in a previous session. And she was actually a very beautiful woman, but because most of the people she was around would be considered maybe not so pretty, they wrapped her with garments and masks over her face and painted an ugly face on it so she would fit in. And she went through her life like this for quite a while. And this is the way things are. But then after some time, she said, why am I hiding? But she was conditioned that this is the way I am, so I can't do anything. And I think there was a visitor to the town, or she met somebody different and encouraged her, you know what, peel one of them off, see how you feel. And is that the visitor, this new person, kept peeling off the layers of her masks, she became lighter and felt better and better until the mask was finally removed, and there the true her, there she was, right? She wasn't accepted by the people that she had grown up with because now she was different.
Wow.
So it's, again, he touches on many things in here that are really our issues in our day, and to be accepting of whoever, however, and you don't have to wear a mask to fit in. We are all individuals, and all of one from the all there is.
In the world we live in, I don't know how many beings. I know it's billions, right, of people in this world, and it makes me wonder how many out of that number feels different but hides it.
A lot, I bet.
I was, when I was younger, I was told pink was for girls. But I like purple. But I wore pink because that was for girls. And so many people, I'm pretty sure, have similar experiences about that in their life, where you may have wanted something different, or you felt different, or you selected something different, but you were told,
Well, that was a mask that somebody put over
you.
you until
Exactly.
you were able to shed that.
Wow. Sometimes it makes me wonder, is that how trans or gay community feels?
Probably. Probably. Yeah.
And we're not at all speaking for them. We're
Right.
just, noticing different similarities that are happening right now in today's world that Christ is speaking about back then. And that's something,
Yeah, and as I am getting older and currently a senior citizen, and I look around with a lot of my associates, compadres, peers, and it's something I noticed since I was young, and I still notice it today, that usually people get more set in their ways and they don't want to change it, and it's kind of difficult. And I guess that's part of the human condition, but I feel like I've been unraveling the other way. I'm a lot more tolerant for a lot of things than I used to be. I'm a lot less judgmental than I used to be. Again, am I there yet? No way. But I feel like I'm working on myself, and I think it's having some good toward that. And there is nothing wrong about being different. In as much as, at the time, like you said before, when Christ came then, he was a radical dude. When we get into the way he explained how his childhood was, I think a lot of people are going to be shocked at what his personality was really like.
Wow.
I remember when I was in grade school, the nuns would say, "Oh yeah, there were some stories or something about being told where he was doing magic as a young kid with other kids, and all bunk."
Right. Oh wow.
But he does talk about how he was, and it's probably not what most people think. And we'll get to that soon. We cannot affect permanent change in our lives until we change our consciousness, and really people must pray and strive at all times to achieve the unconditional love. In the 20th century, when this was started, human mental realities strip out their spiritual development. Scientifically, there's been so many change in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s with evolution of electronics and our, where we're at today with artificial intelligence and exponential growth in technology and changes in our society over the last 20, 30, 40 years than there were, in 1,000 years before that. It's about anything that we have, anything that we've thought of, anything that we've invented, it can all be used for good.
I agree.
We, as human beings, really probably, if you look at the prehistoric times and even back then, evolution very, 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 very slowly. the capacity to move forward is typically from inspiration that was divinely inspired, or whatever it is.
I taught a class recently, the other day, an AI class for Bing, and a young lady, Veronica, she graphic designer, she was kind of fact checking me. She was saying, so you're saying that with this new technology called AI, I can go to my browser, Bing. Bing is the same as Google.
Mm-hmm.
You can search stuff. So I can go to Bing and type in, I need a picture of a grass backdrop with the sign that says alphabet soup. I can type that in and Bing is going to create this portrait, this backdrop for me. And I said to her, yes. So she tried it and it displayed one picture. Oh, I didn't like it the color, I wanted it to be blue. And I said, well then type in blue, blah, 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 blah. And for some reason, this educated person who had went to school her whole life, been a graphic designer her whole life, could not wrap her mind around this technology benefiting her.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to her, because I saw where her disbelief came from, I go, did you know that Facebook was created as a communication device? You know,
Mm-hmm.
I go, despite what you may use it for, despite what people may use certain things for, it was all created for good.
Yep.
It's how we interpret it, what we use it for. If you use it to spy on your ex-boyfriend, shame on you. You know, but
yeah, you're right.
And some people don't see it that way. They're thinking, oh, how can I manipulate this? How can I use this for my evil plan and rule the world? I don't know.
Yeah.
But she could not wrap her mind around it, you know. And I was just like, it's really that simple.
Mm-hmm.
If we use it for what it's good. The telephone book was originally created for good, not for stalkers.
Yeah.
It was good. I interrupt you, but I find it fascinating that people
appreciate it.
And maybe, and I'm not saying that the mind always go toward the dark, but sometimes people do figure, well, how can I manipulate this? How can I change it? How could I use it for this purpose? When, in turn, it was a communication device. You know, the internet was created and the government used it first, and then they opened it up to us. It should have been, it's for good, you know.
Yeah, and Christ will comment on that in a future letter also.
Of course.
Are you getting the theme here?
Of course. You see how this letter can work for you in your life today.
Yeah, definitely. Well, again, this is kind of touching on this. The science thought they could explain away the origins of creation and ascribe them to accident. And as a direct result, people ditched morality and they began to give away to self-will. And that's kind of, you know, the revolution in the 60s, sexual freedom, their civil rights movements, whatever. But everybody's, you know, they're fell away from church. And he also talks about in here too that, you know, a lot of these messages are actually for the churches to get with it.
Exactly.
You know, it's time to ditch some of the dogma and move people forward for spiritual ascendance and improving themselves. And there's a way to do that. He has a really great plan in here how to do that.
So are you saying the churches have an ego?
Of course. They're ruled by people.
I agree.
Yep, definitely. And, you know, it's something that we all struggle with. You were talking about the internet before, and he says, no, well, the ever-increasing lurid images of a few people, which are broadcast through TV, movies, internet, whatever, which would have been contained locally not too many years ago, are now become a contagious mental infection.
Yes.
It's everywhere, and it's really hard to put a cap on it, because it is everywhere, in every form of communication, everywhere we go.
Every young person I meet, their goal, one of their goals, is to go viral.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, goals were, you know, athlete, police officer. I've never, and I had to wrap my mind around it. Your goal is to go viral, you know.
My own grandchildren said the same thing to me.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, he said this infection is glorified in literature and films and theater, and it spreads worldwide, and it's creating a human consciousness similar to the one expressed as sexual excesses, violence, and perversions. The mental infection first manifests as egocentric modes of living, and then the creation of technical devices which have created serious health disorders, climate changes, crop failures, environmental deterioration, and the extinction of living creatures, and wholesale slaughter of human beings.
You might have to read that one again.
Definitely.
'Cause, yeah.
Again, we're talking about contagious mental infections, which are glorified in literature, in films, in theater, spreading worldwide, creating a global human consciousness similar to their own, expressed as sexual excesses, violence, and perversions. The mental infection first manifests as an egocentric mode of living and the creation of technical devices, which have created serious health disorders, climatical changes, crop failures, environmental deterioration, and the extinction of living creatures, as well as the wholesale slaughter of human beings. Another thing that Christ will address in here is that really, if we are aligned with the Spirit and mentally pure, you got to relate to the miracles that He performed.
I agree.
He did not do a thing other than be a conduit through the all there is, because our world is all put together with divine energy. It operates because and we'll talk about this with like regularity, and I'm jumping ahead with some kind of future material, but essentially if we were of Christ consciousness, if we could elevate ourselves to that level while we're in this life there, we probably would not have any sicknesses or discomforts or anything like that, because the body in the world is more or less self-healing. But it's our negative thoughts and actions that we do that bring upon the sickness and ill to ourselves.
It's hard though, first thing my mind went to is, you go to work, 8 hours, 9 hours out of the day. And it's like, if you start a new prescription, in order for me to go to work, I have to have my coffee. I have to have my snacks and my lunch. But then in turn, that coffee, that snacks, and that lunch create like a bigger problem, right? So now you have those people who may have caffeine addiction. Some people are on high blood pressure medicine. Some even have diabetes. And now I'm at work all day and I'm staring at this new man-made machine and I need glasses, right? And now I need a special chair, right? Because I've created this back problem from sitting like this 8 hours a day, and so on and so forth. My mom takes one pill and then she takes another pill to counteract the one pill, and it's like a vicious cycle. And it goes back to what they're saying in the letters. Some of these man-made devices have created illness on top of illness on top of illness, addiction on top of addiction.
Definitely, to continue the same thought here, he's saying that our TV and cinema has become the new Bible of human behavior.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah.
Personal tragedies which were unknown to humankind a century ago, they're all over. The movies, the TV, the news, and people live in fear walking in the streets. Households are barricaded behind high walls, and family and social problems are taken to the regular public debate. And so our saga of human misery is just perpetuated.
It's just amazing, like when you go out of the country, and we are in America. When we go out of the country and people look at us and they measure us to a Kardashian, I find that amazing that something they watch on TV, they have converted that to this is how America is, and it become a way of their thinking. And not saying that people can't think for themselves, but it is getting to the point where we cannot even separate cinema from real life.
Oh yes, I guess this is the chicken or the egg. Did it happen on the movie or cinema first, or did it happen in real life, and then they're glorifying it in the movie?
I agree.
And it builds along.
And now we graduated to what we call reality TV. Scripted TV, as they say.
Yes.
And it may have made things worse.
I don't think it's improved anything.
Right, So, wow.
And so he's saying all this proliferation of all this stuff that's out there and available literally to everybody, it's the beast that's stalking our land right now. And it feeds a miasma into our innocent minds. And he said it's also going to keep perpetuating until the Christ knowledge is acknowledged and accepted and lived by the majority of the people on earth.
And I will say this, and I don't know if I'm on a bandwagon or a soapbox or whatnot or whatever. I feel that same way about some of our foods, where if the food is so bad for you, why are we allowed to have it? If whatever red dye number 9 is, I don't know the exact words, but if it's so bad, or if we know 10 years ago that if you eat this cookie or consume this dish, that in 5 years it will lead to cancer. Why is this allowed? Exactly.
Money.
Exactly.
Profits.
Exactly.
So, as Christ goes through here, he's saying, look, I'm not saying these words to threaten or punish you, okay? He's just trying to alert us that it's the source of all the unspeakable horrors which fill our newspapers and TV screens. And it's his love for us that he's coming down to descended through the various levels of consciousness to reach the dimension of human depravity to warn us of the consequences of our present lives.
Wow.
Because of love.
But do you think that someone's watching us saying, how do I avoid it? Everywhere I go, it surrounds you.
It is. Yeah.
It weighs me down because I know better, but if everyone in the room is drinking Coca-Cola, sometimes I take a sip. And I understand that from some people. It's hard to be the one person that says, I'm sorry, I don't drink. You're the oddball out or
right.
whatever.
Yeah, he does address that it is so pervasive in our world today that we have a problem. To put it bluntly, there's a problem in the world with everything, the way things are going on. In one section here, he really talks about a pretty big disaster that's supposed to hit the world, and I looked up on the website, the companion website for the materials here, and somebody said, okay, these were written 15, 20 years ago. What's this imminent depravity that is supposed to happen? And I think one of the things in there is that they did a rechanneling, and they might have said it didn't happen, but the one part I saw in there, I think he's predicting about something that's going to happen like 25 years out. And so if this was written in the early to later 2000s, it could still be yet to come too. And I don't know what that's going to be. It might be somebody pushing the trigger on the nuclear bombs, or I don't know what.
I felt like I overheard, or maybe I read, or just listening, that someone had predicted COVID. Where it was written somewhere where a plague would come across.
I think so. Yeah, I've heard that too.
I've heard that too. I didn't do my research, to be honest with you guys. I didn't do my research, but I did hear that, and it just makes you wonder sometimes, Yeah.
Well, he will address AIDS in an upcoming chapter, and why that came to be, and as well as really all sicknesses.
Exactly.
So it's okay, I think Spirit is with me tonight.
Of course.
It's right here. He says, you wonder wherefore has come the AIDS virus, which attacks people's precious self-defense system, the immune system, and also targets our ability to procreate. And the virus, if left unchecked, not by drugs, by spiritual awareness, will wipe out the unwary.
So that's the same thing as any virus then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says in here, all viruses are from man-made causes, and not from somebody in a lab working. It's from negative thoughts, negative actions, and causing sickness towards ourselves because of those feelings and thoughts we have.
I agree. I wholeheartedly believe that, and in this world today, we've all been around or know someone who has had cancer. And I believe that the way you think, by the way you live, it affects that virus or that illness. And many people have beat it and many people have not, based on how they decided to live with it, address it, think, the stress of it, just everything. You could change your whole life. They say, I heard a girl say, she was talking about getting help from the government. She was sick, she had diabetes. And they said they were not going to help her because diabetes is controllable. The government in America will only help you if you have a lifelong illness. And I had to sit with that for a second, right? Because I had to think about it. Like, what did that mean? So if you're dying, you get help? Wouldn't it be the other way around? Or are they saying that stop eating so much sugar, you can beat diabetes, we're not going to help that? It's so many ways to look at it, but that's the world, and those are the things that we're dealing with today, and it made me think, like, that's crazy.
Right. And I'm not slamming the government by any means here, but I read a blog recently that something like out of the 36 most developed countries that we're the only one that doesn't have some kind of a national healthcare system.
Wow.
We can't figure that out. I don't know if that's true or not, but I read that and it was kind of like, really? I didn't know that because I'm happy here in America.
And it's funny that, because you and I, we've already established that we're sometimes on the same wavelength. I just had a conversation with a girl that is a medical biller. And I said to her, I go, well, isn't it the law that everyone has to have health care? She goes, no. She goes, I go, well, what's that, like Obamacare? What's all that stuff about? She goes, no, you're not required. It's not mandated to have insurance. She goes, there's a lot of people that don't have it. And I go, wow, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it's still there or not, but there was a financial penalty, I think, somebody had to pay if they weren't signed up. I don't know if that's still in effect or not, but, for a lot of people, it's probably easier to pay a couple $100 on their taxes than be able to afford
to pay $200 a month.
Yeah, or do I eat?
And that's sad that's where we are.
It is.
Because you should never, I feel you should never have to choose your health or living versus providing or paying rent.
That's quite a concept, isn't it?
I know.
Rather than sit down with a psychiatrist or with a doctor, we're on the precipice of being able to take some type of a scanner that will scan the body and be able to see colors, I guess, for infected areas. So you might be, if you had a bad liver or something like that, it might be a dark spot on that image or however that is going to play out, and use that for diagnosis for that, and also translate that to like mental illnesses and where people, if they're discomfort and diseased, and the scanner will kind of point to where you need to work on, do some energy work basically to help cure the body.
Exactly.
It's coming very close, he said, and I believe that.
I totally wholeheartedly believe that.
I mean, they've already done surveys. I think one example was somebody had a casserole pan full of green beans in there, and they had some type of a sensor going to not like something like a lie detector, but different. And if you were started yelling and scolding and being angry, the meter would kind of go over here. But if you said nice things and very pleasant, then it kind of went this way.
Wow.
So there is energy in things that does react with our environment, and that's again a reflection of our energy, the energy that we transmit throughout our daily lives, whether it be internalized mentally or verbally or thoughts or actions or whatever.
So anger is an energy, you think?
Oh, definitely.
I think so too.
Definitely, yeah. And the funny thing about it has some effect on the receiver, but the greater effect is on the giver.
I agree. The energy that goes into being angry is just unbelievable.
personally, I've had a couple different operations for a few things. I've cut the tip of my finger off once upon a time. I had my hips replaced, and I've been kind of surprised that I've healed in all instances in remarkably fast time frames, and in both cases, really, I never had any pain.
I agree.
And it may just be me. Maybe I don't think I have a high tolerance for pain. I think if you pinch me, I'd probably go ouch. But some serious stuff, and I'm hoping, I'm grateful that this has happened, and I'm taking it as hopefully an encouraging sign.
I agree with you.
Christ says right here, my message to all churches, and the Christ have come to expressly tell you the truth about the origins of human personality. I will explain exactly why and how mankind has been given a natural inbuilt propensity for self-will and a controlling desire for self-gratification and self-defense. This is not sin, but it's part of the natural creative process. People, through their willful and harmful exercise of ego power, they draw to themselves their own punishment. And he says, note well, for this reason, just as scientific school textbooks become redundant as our human mind discovers and absorbs more advanced scientific knowledge, so should the present form of Christianity, built upon spurious doctrines centered around my crucifixion, should be allowed to die a natural death.
How do you think?
Mic drop on that.
I know, right? What do you think a pastor or someone that facilitates a church-type environment would feel about that,
Well, like anybody reading these letters, I think it's going to depend on the person and where they're at. If you're so indoctrinated in whatever your earthly taught beliefs are, the doctrines, you're probably not going to be receptive to this. But he also says that's okay.
Right.
A lot of people aren't ready for this stuff. But for those who are, open your hearts, open your mind, look at things a different way. As we move through these, I think everybody's going to see that there's nothing bad in there. There's nothing weird about that. But it's a shift from where we've all been.
I think one of the key things is that he's not trying to convince us to jump across the lake with him.
No.
He's given clear, pure words, and you can interpret them any way you want.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
As a matter of fact, it is how you interpret them will be how you move going forward.
Exactly. It's a clear direction, and you don't have to take it all in one gulp either. Again, I've been reading this stuff for almost 2 years now. I do believe in this, and I'll be a slow learner, as he kind of implies in here, and it may take me a while, but hopefully I'm a little bit better when I leave than I came into this world. I'll be happy with that.
Oh, I agree with you.
Present global crises clearly indicate that there's no religion in the world that possesses the requisite knowledge and effective leadership to initiate the change necessary in human mental patterns.
I agree with that.
And he's again pointing that to religions in general. I think the term religion even kind of has a negative connotation. If you're trying to prescribe to a human doctrine of a Godhead of some type that is angry, or what I want to say, vindictive or punishing or anything like that. That's not the case, and his experience in the desert is going to very clearly line that out, that he realized that there's some very, very positive attributes about the divine force that's with us all, and how it encourages us to grow and develop and improve.
So I think it's safe to say, though, that he's not saying church is bad.
No.
He's not saying if you go to church and you follow the words of your pastor that he reads from the Bible, that's bad. He's not saying that at all. He is saying, though, that if you follow any organization or any group that creates another layer of what you should do and what you should not do, then you ought to read this and question why.
Precisely.
And this is what you need to do for yourself. maybe every group, and don't get me wrong, we all have play groups, we all have family reunions, we all have different groups that we all attend. But when it gets to a point where it's saying, if you don't tithe, you're going to hell, then you should maybe stop and reconsider, is what I think he's saying.
Well, especially if that message isn't resonating with you. If you're happy with what you're doing,
exactly,
keep doing it.
Keep doing it. Hats off to you.
Yeah. But if you want to advance to eventual spiritual ascension, as he has, as many other ascended masters and throughout the time have done, then you might want to look at this and consider this stuff. But if you're happy with where you're at, that's okay too. He just basically says that to be able to advance, to think that by making yourself suffer Catholic guilt, I'll throw it out there.
Of course.
Is not necessarily, that's not a good thing to help you move forward. We were all meant to enjoy this life, and be respectful, and but help other people too. I mean, again, when you go through here, it's a very, very clean, pure message in here. Nothing about retribution, nothing about damnation. What's in here? He even had a hard time at times staying at a higher level, and because it's so easy as a human being with our ego to fall backward.
So let me say this, and I know guys, we've been talking because you're out of curiosity, you read the title, and you're thinking to yourself, Ron and Val is great. I love what you're talking about. Yeah, that makes sense in a perfect world. But I get up every single day. I have to hustle for the not so popular job that I have, and I'm not making enough money to even live the life that I think I want to live. And you want me to turn the other cheek. You want me to be nice to my neighbor when the world and the life that I'm living, I don't feel nice because my neighbor doesn't have the money problems. He doesn't have the mean manager problems. He doesn't have the crying baby at night problems. It's hard for me to look at a new way or a better way or the way I really want to live when I'm barely surviving today. The current situation I cannot get ahead of. It's defeating for me, and I know there's a better way. I really believe. Matter of fact, I know I'm a good person. But if everyone surrounding me has on gym shoes and I got on flip-flops, I wish I could afford gym shoes too. And you know what? I agree with the letters. I'm gonna read them tomorrow, but today I'm gonna smoke this cigarette. And I'll start over tomorrow. I'll start that diet soon. But for right now, what the people say, let me live right now. And I guess we're saying to you guys, when you're ready for this, it'll be ready for you. This may not be for you right now.
Right.
And it's okay.
Yep, absolutely.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a gradual process, and I lived well over 60 years before I latched into something like this, and it may never happen. You just don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know where I'm going to be by the time I pass. What level I'm going to be. Maybe I'll be where I'm at now. Maybe I'll, as he refers to, see something bright, shiny, and jump off the train, and go exploring on something that's not so good, and I'll fall backward. That can all happen.
But I do think, and I hope that we are encouraging you to read it for yourself. Because we picked out different things that resonated with us, and I think you will too. Everyone's life is different, and the message hits you at that moment in your life for that time.
Let me close, and we're not very far into chapter 1, and that's okay. I'm glad we're having this discourse to be able to discuss these things. But kind of to wrap up what you were saying there too, he says, no evil comes into the earth as a natural disaster. Everything inimical to our personal, perfect welfare is bred into our human consciousness. Precisely what you were just talking about there. We're of the human condition, it's where we are at. And given the form within our global experience, what he tried to tell the Jews when he walked on earth and wept when they laughed and refused to believe it. They called him a man-man, that this can happen. That may still be there today. You know, and maybe somebody can't break out of their situation, but try to read. Maybe there's a nugget in there. I mean, you know, move that far. That's that much farther you've gotten, right?
Exactly. The needle moves slowly, but if you, like Ron and I was saying, if you clicked on this button, you are looking and seeking for something else. You know that there's something bigger, or different, or better, or another way, and just start where you are.
Exactly, and you know, something else I truly believe is nothing is by chance.
I agree.
While I don't believe in destiny, that you know things are prescribed for us, we all have our own will to do as we please. I feel we are divinely guided, and some events are more likely than others. And you know, again, just how I kind of fell into this and how you contacted with me. I mean, it's you could say it's coincidence. I guess you could, but you could also say it's probably some divine guidance in there, and inspiration, and gentle nudge. Maybe.
Thank you again for watching video number 3. As you can tell, we're probably more excited about this than anything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, thank you, and hope to see you next time.
see you later. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.